Hey, DelVecchio here from websiteprofitcourse.com, and today I want to discuss something that I know holds people up, and that's whether or not you need a contract to do web design work. I know that I have a different perspective than most people, and that's because I don't think a contract is necessary. I'm going to expand on that with two stories and my personal experience, and let me just say right now, this is not legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just going to tell you things that have happened to me in the past. So when I first started out, I worked with two people where I sent them a contract, they signed it. Surprisingly enough, both of those were my worst experiences working with somebody. So the first one was a general contractor who wanted a new website, so I sent him the contract. As the terms of the contract stated, he paid 50% up front, and we were going to do the other 50% on launch. As soon as he gave me the money, I started work. Within, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks, I had the first version of the website up and running. He liked it, but the problem was we didn't have photos, and this was back in the day, I think before those free stock photo websites like unsplash.com existed, so we really didn't have any photos. I was just using some placeholders. It took approximately 8 months for him to get me real photos of his project work along with a logo that he wanted to use. Now what happened was I was always emailing him trying to get this information from him. He would always email me back saying he would do it next week. That was his standard response. Oh, I'll get this to you by next week. And 2-3 weeks would go by. I'd have to follow up on that. The other thing that he wanted to do was set up in-person meetings. So if he didn't say, I'll get this to you by next week, he would say, hey, let's meet, we can finish it up. And we met, I think, 2 or 3 times in person. We didn't get anything accomplished in those meetings. So at one point, I just told him, listen, you need to get me what I need to finish this project. We don't need to meet to do it. Once you get me that information and I finish it up, then we can meet and discuss what needs to be done to launch it. This project dragged on for over a year after we first signed the contract, and he just went silent. We never ended up launching the website, so I never got paid that second half of the money. The other contract job that I did was for a guy who ran a marketing company for automotive companies. So he worked with a lot of dealerships in this area. He would do things like take pictures of the cars. I think he originally was doing like 360-degree views of cars that he would put on the website. And he did a bunch of other stuff. He was actually, a real entrepreneur. He had a lot of good ideas, but because of that, he was working on so many things at once that it was tough to get a hold of him. So he wanted to put together a website for one of the dealerships that he was working for, and they had multiple locations. So we were doing a WordPress website where he wanted about 10 or 15 people, one person at each location, to have access to their page on the website. I thought this was a really cool project because I got to learn new plugins that I had never used before, and I think I did a little bit of custom coding to get some of these things to work. So I learned a lot on that project, but just like the first one, I got paid the 50% up front. We put most of the work in and got the first version up within a couple weeks, just like the other one. And he acted almost exactly like my other client, where he said that he needed to get information from those dealerships. Once he got that, we would finish it up. Months would go by, that didn't happen. And funny enough, I gave him a similar ultimatum. He never responded. And then 5 months later, he gave me a one-line email saying, what do we have to do to get this site live? I told him, I told you what you needed to do many months ago. So if you want to do this, you got to give me a 10% late fee, and any work that I would have to do to finish it up would be billed hourly. That wasn't part of the original contract. Not surprisingly, I never heard from him again. We never launched the site. So this is my big takeaway from these two experiences. If you're doing big work, you're getting paid thousands and thousands of dollars for a project, yeah, you probably want to have a contract in place. If you're dealing with a marketing department of a big company, they're going to need a contract. But if you're like me and you're working with small local business owners, you're just getting started, and you do a project for, maybe $500, $1,000 for your first project, what are the chances you're going to get a lawyer involved if they don't agree to the terms in that contract, if they break those terms? You can try and enforce them yourself, but if you're just doing, freelancing, you're just getting started, you're not going to want to get a lawyer involved and deal with the legal side of things. My best client was the first one, actually, that I ever got. I got really lucky in that regard. He was a roofer that did work for my dad, and my dad told him that I could do websites. He paid me $500 after seeing the first version of the website that I did. That's all I charged him for it, and he gave me that in cash. He had no questions. He didn't ask for a second version. He didn't, drag things along. He was a fast mover. He still works with me to this day. And the reason is because we shifted over to a monthly cancel anytime package. So that's really what I do nowadays. Instead of a contract, I send an email with maybe 5 bullet points. You don't need 17 pages in a contract and have them read it over. Most people are not going to read that. They're going to ignore the majority of it and just look at that first page. So boil down everything you need into a couple of bullet points, send over an email. That serves as the contract so that if they want more work done that wasn't included in your initial pitch, you can tell them that, I already sent you this, it's in writing, this isn't included. And maybe it's a little bit of risk to do the monthly package with a cancel anytime structure, but I found that that has worked great for me. And I've had many clients who've paid me multiple thousands of dollars. My best clients have paid me over $20,000 in the course of a decade working with me. But all of my better clients, we've had great communication. I still meet with them in person every now and then, and they really don't micromanage me. We might do a lot of work in 1 month, and then I don't hear from them for the next 3 to 4 months, or maybe even 6 months to a year. Some of my clients only contact me once a year. So I hope this information has helped you out. When you're dealing with small, local business owners, the most important thing is your word and building a relationship with them. If you build trust with somebody, they're not going to screw you over. But if you don't know somebody and you send them a contract and you don't have the financial backing to get legal advice or get a lawyer involved if something goes wrong, it's just a waste of time to put that infrastructure in place if it's not necessary. That's all I got for this video. And if you want to start your web design business, go ahead and start looking for clients, reaching out to them. Don't worry if you don't have the infrastructure in place, like a business name, like a business bank account, like a contract. You can put all of those into place as you actually gain momentum and start working with other people. I got a free giveaway that'll show you all the tools that I use to manage my client websites. Go to my homepage, websiteprofitcourse.com, and you can download a free copy of that. I'll include that in the description below, along with other helpful links. And if you're interested, I will show you an example of the contract that I had in place many years ago. Just take a look at it and see if you can, pull out any bullet points that you can add into an email and use that simplified bullet list email as an agreement as opposed to sending over a contract that they need to sign. I'll include a link to that as well in the description below. Last but not least, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more web design freelancing videos. If you've ever worked with a client, let me know below whether or not you used a contract. I'll link up a couple other videos here if you want to keep on watching. I really appreciate you taking the time to make it through this entire video, and I hope you join me on the next one.